Our discourse this morning is brought by a friend from Dallas. Jim Berrong is a spiritual coach with the Center for Spiritual Living in Dallas. He's known as CSLDallas. He has been with Science of the Mind since 2008. Today, he is going to talk to us about Science of the Mind, science and way of life, and how these concepts overlap. Jim, we welcome you to our spirit and to our pulpit, and we want to present you with a bookmark to remember us by and a reminder of your time here.
Thank you. Stuff organized here. Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Are you going to?
No.
Okay. Well, good morning. Technology, I love it. Okay. So, I was very excited that Jan called me to do this. I've been involved in my own spiritual awakening since I can identify back when I was 8 years old. And then it got more formalized when I got older, and then I am joining the, first was Unity, the original congregation in Kansas City, and then Unitarian Universalist in Dallas, and then things happened, and then I got connected with Science of Mind, which Science of Mind is the study of religious science. So if you ever hear those names, you know what they are. And then more currently, it's been called Centers for Spiritual Living. So and then it got shortened as everything does down to CSL, and we became CSLDallas. So that's your history lesson. And this is probably going to be self-evident to y'all. It's not to me, but is there anybody here that's for the first time or new to New Thought? You are. You're new. Yes. And your name is? We did meet earlier, Liz. Great. So is this your first time here? No. Okay. But you're new to New Thought. Oh, good. Yay. Okay. Well, and this kind of brings it up and I always find this interesting. I mentioned this to Jan ahead of time, but who here, if I had no idea what Unitarian Universalism was, who would give me 1, 2, 3 words, a small phrase of what is Unitarian Universalism? Who would? Oh, we got one back here in the red shirt.
It's the power of love.
Power of love.
Shirt.
Okay. Anybody else have a different definition? Okay, there's one definition in the room. I'm hearing some laughter on this one. Do you have something else you'd like to throw in the ring?
Well, my mother had a definition, not mine.
I don't know if this is going to be anywhere close to correct, but the way I explain it to my family when they ask what kind of church I go to, I say it's a church based on community rather than God or one certain religion.
Oh, beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And this is a great, we all take things up a little differently. There's always the dictionary definition, but what does it mean to us or mean to you?
Okay, on behalf of my mother says, they're the ones that don't believe in God, ain't they?
Oh, that's a classic. And for anything New Thought, that's a classic.
Welcoming everyone.
And that's of those of us in it will often say it. Is there anybody else? And just to connect this wonderful, these people singing up here, virtually all those are friends of mine. I've gotten to know them over the years, so it was really nice to see that. And the message, of course, is so consistent across, religious science, any New Thought. I mean, it's just so consistent. But just so you know that the center I'm at, the Center for Spiritual Living I'm at in Dallas, our affirmation is that we're radically inclusive, spiritually progressive, and all about transforming lives. Bottom line. And that's where we start. If something doesn't support that in our community, we just don't do it. And so we let that out there so everybody knows that. And does anybody have any familiarity with religious science, science of mind? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you basics. Obviously, this could be a long course, but it's going to be short. And I try to run this kind of like a classroom as best I can. So that when you leave here, if someone asks that question in the elevator, well, how would you compare, Unitarian Universalists with science and magic? You say, well, I can tell you this, and it all may be 30 different things, but, there'll be something there. And that little preface I had sent over, is it a science? Is it a science? Is it a way of life? Or is it a philosophy? Well, Ernest Holmes, who founded it, Dr. Ernest Holmes, he said it's all three. It's a philosophy in that what he did is, and his lifespan ran up to 1960, so you can kind of get in context. But he studied the major religions, philosophers, mystics, the names we all know. He studied them, and he said and you've probably heard this term, it's called a golden thread. He said they all have something in common, and that's what he gleaned onto, and that's what he started teaching. It's a philosophy in terms of what I mentioned, that it's other people's philosophies as he's gathered, garnered, and got the common threads. It's a science in that what he taught, and we teach, and we still teach, is that by doing this, that will happen. So it's constant, because what we believe and take up is there are certain laws, we call them spiritual laws, laws of the universe, of nature, whatever you want to call them, but those are, anybody you talk to across this planet is going to tell you the same thing on those. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. And then it's a way of life, and that the whole point of science of mind is to expand our spiritual nature so we understand that more and live through that and actually take it up as a way of life, because it enhances our lives. And that's why our third item on our affirmation is transforming lives. And myself included, I give you a string of people that get more out of their life than they ever used to, because they've taken these natural laws up. And I think the best way to look at it is science of mind. I don't look at it as a religion, and I'll tell you why, is that when Ernest Holmes started these talks, started discussions in his home and other people's homes. He was on the East Coast at the time. And again, so this is in the 1890s. And so people talked to each other, what do you think about this and that? And they studied things. Well, then he ended up going to California, and where more new thought was generating at that time in Southern California. And this would happen. He went from individual discussions to groups like this to what we did this morning at 10 o'clock. And then it got groups like this, people talking and sharing and listening and learning. And these groups, his idea was, I want you to have an enhanced sense of your spiritual nature, be able to live from that, and go back to your temple, your church, your synagogue, wherever you go. You'll get more out of it that way, because it's a basic truth. And what happened is the room got so big, and people said, no, we actually want to stay here and listen to you. We're getting more from what you're saying than our churches over there, or whatever it was. And you said, well, if we're going to do that, then we need to organize as a religion. So that's where it became a religion, and that's where it is today. But if you think in terms of science of mind as a school, a class, a college on developing your metaphysical nature, that's what it is. So there's loads of classes, and you can talk to Jan about all this, is that if you want to take some of the classes, you can take them. There's no prerequisites. You can do them online, and then it can enhance your experience here and develop that more just in your life. So I'll get into that in a little bit. So what I wanted to do because the teachings are all experiential. Well, I take it back. You can actually just get the logistics. You can get the facts and figures and describe it if you want, but it's really based on experiential learning. And through that, developing, again, your spiritual nature, such that, in my own experience and others, those moments where you're living and all of a sudden, God, that went so well, that was beautiful, I love that, so good, and then something happens, you go, oh, I can't believe I can't get back there, I'm down here again, is that after a point, you get to that point where, with the metaphysical, and you're strong enough for that in yourself, that's your baseline. That's your baseline. Now, can you go on detours? We all go on detours, but at least I know, other people know, is that that's not my truth, my divine truth. My divine truth is always this. It's always this. Now, there are steps to take to get back to that, but it's very helpful to know that my truth is not a toothache, a broken bone. It's there, it's happening, and my truth is not sadness or depression or whatever it is. My truth is love. is that ultimate divine love. And that's where we always can go back to and always have hope for. So I'm going to hand out, with Marla's help, I'm going to switch over to this. I'll get the pointer. Get rid of that. Are we on? We're on. Okay. Get these out. Get that loose. Almost. There you go. And get you ladies. There you go. Okay. How did I miss you, Jan? And now I need to get one from Marla. Forgot myself. Thank you. So if you will look at the science of mind principles, that side. So these are the things that, and again, so much of science of mind is taken from elsewhere. It's a compilation of synthesis. You're going to recognize a lot of this. But I thought it just would be interesting, just like we talked about what is you, is to, what does the oneness mean to you? What is oneness? Anyone want to jump in and say something? And just what came to first to mind. That's it. There's no right or wrong answer, just what came to first to mind. Harmony? That's really good. Anything else?
The unity of plurality.
The unity of plurality. Oh, you're really getting into it. That's beautiful. Okay. Okay. So oneness is, and it's both of what you said. It's the oneness is that it's, and I'll take this before creation. There's just the one, where life, what's back behind all of life. That's it. And you go through so many different religions and so on, and it's not like someone was sitting there and created, oh, here's life. I mean, it's before all that. It's before all that. And then love, the capital L, the divine love. What would you say that is? It's that love we talked about. We just talked about up here, where we ultimately come from love when we do things.
I know what I would have said a few years back was God is love, or love is God.
Okay, perfect. I was going to end up there anyway. So that love we're talking about is this. It's that that givingness of, if we look at everything as an expression of God. Oh, I'm sorry.
Got one more.
Okay.
Love is something you recognize it when you see it, and when you're asked to define it, you're stymied.
That's definition number 2. That's beautiful. Well, the way, and again, what I'm going to tell you is the way Science of Mind takes it up and explains it. So that's, anyway. So it's that ultimate givingness unto itself, the divine source. And you can use God, tomato, potato, whatever word you want to use, it doesn't make a difference. But just to recognize that source in expression, it's always giving unto itself. It's giving unto itself life so it can express. It can't express and experience until all of us in this room exist. And everybody else exists. Literally a potato exists, a dog exists, a wind, a thought, gravity. It's all of it, but it's always giving unto itself. And I'll get into that in a little more detail too. And then creation, just creation itself. Any takers on this? I got a smile and a nod. You're going to say something, Byron. I know. Oh, no, okay. It was presumptive on my part. So creation is everything that's here. I mean, creation is everything that's seen and unseen. So gravity is a thing, but I can't put gravity in your hand, but we know it exists. Thoughts, I can't hold a thought, but I have thoughts, and you have thoughts. So creation is the one that's love giving unto itself is creation, the physical, the seen and unseen physicality of the universe. And then the threefold nature of universal intelligence. Now this will be really interesting compared to what we just heard here a little earlier about Trinity, this morning that is. Anyone would jump into that, the threefold nature of universal intelligence? Oh, I almost had to grab her over here. No? Okay. So, let's see. Where did I put that? This is often, most religions and organizations are referred to as the Trinity. And I just use that term because people are common with it. Not there. Oh, no. So the way Science of Mind takes that up is that there is the thought of something from the divine it. It has the original thinker. It has a thought, and there's a law, intelligence in the universe. It's intelligence that keeps the planets where they are, that keeps us on this earth rather than floating in space. And intelligence is mechanical. It is the power, if you know omniscience, omnipresence. It's the it's the omniscience, the all-powerful, the all-knowing. And that thought is, let's take it up as a mold. And then that mold is applied, the intelligence applied to the mold, and it just moves forward and says, whatever you put in there, I'm going to create. I don't care if it's good or bad or what, I'm creating it. And then, of course, the third part of this is the manifestation. So there was a thought of Liz. And here's Liz. So the intelligence knew what to do and created it. And the best way to look at this, I found out, is if you look at an acorn. So that acorn has the entire intelligence to create an oak tree, because everything it needs is right in there, in that tiny, tiny, tiny little acorn, but it can sit on the shelf all day long, nothing's going to happen to it. You put it in the soil, think of that as the intelligence. It's going to get fed, in this case, physicality is going to get fed minerals and water and all it needs. Well, that seed then goes, okay, now I know what to do, and I have the facility, I know what to do already, but now I have the stuff I need to make it happen, and up she comes, and then you have the physicality of the tree. And that applies to everything. Then the creative process, and that's pretty much what I just said, but the amazing thing is, I think you all know, is humans, we have the right to make choices. And so we actually get to this point of co-creating. It's referred to as the spontaneous thinker. There's the original thinker, if you think of that as it, and then the spontaneous thinker is all of us. But you and I are expressions of that one. So if you take that internally, especially when you get into meditation, and much of this meditation is really feel that, and if you get to the point where you can feel that you actually are that one, I am, you are, we're it expressing, and the multiplicity is all of us. I mean, look in this room and how many just physical differences there are, plus personalities, and you take that across the entire planet from the first day a human being was recognized as existing to eternity. Not one is the same. Not one fingerprint's the same. Not one leaf on a tree is the same as the other ones. That multiplicity. And the unity is that we all come from the same place, the same mother, father, whatever you want to call it, the same source. But the creative process is that it can't operate the sound. It can't run the video without someone there, without Don there, or Jim, or Carol. And this is it expressing, and you put all this together, and you have a congregation, and you have a Red River Unitarian Universalist meeting this morning because of all this coming together. And spiritual laws. The spiritual laws, it has to do with the intelligence, but the spiritual laws are the laws of nature, just how things work. And spiritual beings, so that's all of us. All of it, and that has to do with the squirrel, the rock, gravity. It's all an expression of that oneness. And freedom. Anyone want to jump in on freedom?
Nothing left to choose, nothing left to lose.
Nothing left to lose. Well, freedom is that because we have the right to choose, is what you're saying, Byron's saying, is that we have the freedom to choose. We can make choices that are good for us. We can make choices that are harmful for us. What we believe is the choices we make should be for our good, to create a world that works for everyone and a life that works for me and you. So make the good ones. Janis Joplin. Yeah, everyone's included. And then heaven, this is always a good one. Who has a definition of heaven? Oh, well, add to that. Talk about that.
I just said not here.
It's not here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to love this one. The definition of heaven being that it is where we are. And it's what we're experiencing at the time. And our choices create our experiences. So we can take it up, and even though circumstances may be unpleasant, you can get to that place, and internally you can experience your spiritual nature, your truth, is that you can at least feel internally things are good. Now, if outside circumstances don't support that, and I'm talking from your neighbor, someone in your house, to the society, the planet, whatever it is, then you can take up to try to make changes to that such that the physicality lines up with where you actually consider heaven. And this is Ernest Holmes talking. He says he did not believe that there was something outside you go to, because there is nothing outside. It's always here where we are. And then it got into his eternal life, and he's the first one who said, I'm going to give you my philosophy on it, but since I have not gone and come back, nor did anybody else have gone and come back, I can't give you a definitive on this one. But his thought was that, and this is based on his research, is that there's a physicality we're in, these bodies we're in, and we're using these to express spirit uniquely, each one of us. That, he called it personality, but personality, essence, soul, whatever word you want to put on that, is that stays constant. Because after all, everything is, and you've seen science catch up to the metaphysical teachings, is that they realize everything is energy. And that energy that is embodied in this body, like that, the energy in that acorn that becomes the tree, has always been, is, and always shall be, because it is one of the facets of that divine one. It doesn't go anywhere. It expresses for a period of time, but it doesn't go anywhere. So when the body lays down, it's done expressing, then that it still exists. Now, you go way beyond that with other things, but that's the eternal life, is the it that is you and me. When this body lays down, I've gotten to the point that I am comfortable with that continues. And it continues. So, as you can guess, we spend a lot of time just going through these in our classes to really kind of get a sense of it, more than just a written definition, but an experiential sense of what that is. And just this may help, is what I do is I'm a licensed, they use both terms, a licensed practitioner for Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living, as well as a coach, life coach. And so people come to me, and as they do all of us, and for treatments. And what we do is we come in and help people remind themselves of their spiritual truth, what their really truth is, which gets into love and beauty and balance and harmony and all these things that you go, if I could live my life, that would be heaven. And that's where we remind them that's where things can be. And so they can help take steps and practices to get back to that place. So on the back side, you see the Science of Mind practices. And there's no specific order to these, but I always started with number 8, sacred study, is that we use all these different practices to help us remind ourselves of where we actually ultimately come from. And I think love was originally mentioned, that ultimate love. And that's and the thing is that power, that intelligence is available for us 24/7. There's no way of getting away from it, outside of it. It's always, because that's why we exist. It's always here. We're always of that. And on the, I mean, even here we did the silence and meditation and used those to help, get present in the room. And I mentioned, like, a lot of classes are online. We have one, I'm going to hand some stuff out here, but, and again, all this is, and Jan again talked about this, any of this is strictly to help you develop your spiritual nature. If you look, something rings a bell, says, I'd actually like to check that out, and it may help you here or just in your life in general, you're free to do that. There's one coming up, and it's just, I'm co-teaching a class. It's going to start at the end of August, and it's called Mental Equivalence. Does anybody know mental equivalence, or does that ring a bell to anybody? No. Mental equivalence is that you can experience and have what you want to the extent you believe in it, and it can have a sense of it. So, the person who says, well, I want to swim across the English Channel. Okay, do you swim? No, we don't swim. But I'm treating for it, and I pray, and I'm affirming I can do it. Well, we say, that's great. Now let's do that and say, apparently there's something in you that's driving you to swim the channel. Okay, can you imagine getting in the water and swimming just from here to there? I said, well, I think I can do that. So we work on that. And on, take the steps. Because no Olympiad walked out the door and do what they're doing in Paris right now. And the other thing I know is every person in this room, every one of us, has moved past a restriction and done something we wanted to do, but it took some time to do it. Every single one of us. I know this without having met any great detail. Can anybody guess what that is? There may be more than one thing. Okay, no takers. Walking. None of us were born walking. We didn't get up and start walk out the hospital room and say, Mom, I'll catch you later. It doesn't work that way. This little Carol, this little Jan, Marla, just saw, for whatever reason, someone walking, I guess, or with help, they decided, well, I guess I'll walk. And they got up and fell down. I bumped my head on the coffee table, had stitches. But we kept going. We didn't say, well, I fell down, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is ridiculous. We kept going and going and going. We had the desire to do it, and we had mental equivalence, because I saw someone walking over there. I saw my mother, father, brother walking, or sister. And they innately picked up a mental equivalent. Oh, that's what walking is. Oh, and that's how it's done. And I can get there. And we all did. And so mental equivalent is in anything in your life you want to do is you first have to establish a sense of what you want to do. And sometimes it's not visual. It may just be you can do this, like you can ride a bike 20 miles. Yes. Like Don did. And then there's so you work up to it. You don't just get up one day, hop on the bike and ride 20 miles. But you can set the equivalent of what you want to do. And this class will help us do that. But it's so important in any of these classes, anything we do, is to number one, know, I tell you, can't help more enough, is to know we have the power of the universe behind us. And that power, whatever name you want to call it, is always within us, around us, through us, and it's always for our good. It's always, always, always for our good. That can't change. That cannot change, regardless of what the circumstances are. But we can make choices and make changes. So I'm going to leave you with that. That's probably way more than enough already. If you want to know more, I've got business cards. You can go to the CSLDallas website and check classes out and see what's there. There's something for you there. But any questions at all? None? Okay. Good. Well, I'm going to stay for calories and conversation. It sounded very too enticing not to stay for that. So if you have questions, feel free to come up. But otherwise, I appreciate your time and your ears, and just thank you so much for letting me be here. Thank you.